Okay, so hello.
Hello.
Today we are speaking about coffee and on different aspects of why it might be good, why it might be bad, and different things that we can do to improve our experience in terms of drinking coffee and caffeine and many different fascinating things in terms of coffee. Yes. So my name is Andreas Melhede, and I am 23 years old. And I've in the past 4 years I've delved really deep into the science and longevity and healthy living, and based on that, I've accumulated a lot of knowledge on so many different aspects of healthy living and longevity and things like that. So I've read
All right.
studies, and based on that, I'm getting a lot of valuable knowledge that I would just love to share with all you guys out there.
Right. Thank you for your introduction. My name is Wouter van der Linden. I'm 32 years old, and I got interested in longevity during my studies in psychology. I was a bit chubby in high school, and I wanted to improve my health at some point. And during my studies in psychology, I really started picking up on the research behind getting healthier. And I started doing my own investigations to improve my own lifestyle. And yeah, here I am trying to share some of that knowledge that I've gained with our viewers. So yeah, let's dive into coffee.
Cool. Sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I'll hit off with some of the pros and cons of coffee.
Sounds
So the main reason you might want to take coffee in most cases is to improve your energy levels, but it can also help you improve your cognition, your metabolism, physical performance, reaction time. There have been some studies where they gave caffeine to athletes, and they seem to be able to exert a bit more power in their workouts after a high dose of caffeine. Mainly because it binds to your what are these receptors called again? They're the adenosine receptors that prevent you from feeling sleepy. But coffee also contains many polyphenols that have a strong antioxidant effect that may reduce your risk of getting chronic diseases such as Alzheimer's disease or type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, dementia. And it might actually help you reduce your symptoms of fatty liver disease. But there are some consequences to using coffee. And they can mainly increase symptoms of things that are already there, like anxiety, insomnia, or digestive issues. So the trick here is to make sure that you don't overuse coffee so that you do get the benefits of coffee, but you're not getting the consequences of coffee. So it's important that you don't take too much of it and that you take it at the right time. So how about you tell us how much coffee you would suggest us taking?
Yes, certainly. So the thing to keep in mind first is that consuming coffee should be an individual choice and experience, because people, they actually metabolize caffeine in coffee in different ways. So some people, they might actually not be able to consume any amounts of caffeine, or just hardly any amounts, without experiencing some big deals of insomnia at night. So actually your genes are actually going to have a pretty big impact in terms of your consumption of caffeine as a whole, which coffee does contain quite a bit of. So based on that, then in terms of health, then we get into a lot of studies that have been done on that, and there it seems like 4 to 5 cups of coffee is the maximum amount for most people. And then following that, we also have an espresso, which contains less caffeine. So if you only drink espressos, then you actually can consume more cups. without experiencing the cons of consuming coffee. So like one normal cup of coffee is about 100 milligrams of caffeine, and one cup of espresso is about 60. So it's almost half the amount of a normal cup of coffee. So therefore you can actually change it a bit in terms of if you drink espresso or if you drink a normal cup of coffee. And then if you don't know how your genes in terms of metabolizing caffeine react, then you kind of have to listen to your body. Of course, it's ideal to actually check your genes, but if you don't want to do that, or if you just currently don't know and are waiting for a response from a gene company or anything like that, you can just listen to your body in terms of if you're feeling a great deal of anxiety, or you're not really being able to sleep well at night, then you might have to cut down on your coffee consumption. So just listen to your body and listen to your genes is the best way to go about this.
Yeah, I totally agree that four cups of coffee or 6 espressos a day would be a healthy maximum for most people. That's give or take 400 milligrams of caffeine. I've personally experienced some anxiety in the past, and I've realized that 3 cups of coffee or 4 espressos is the safe zone for me. And I would definitely recommend people experiencing anxiety or insomnia or just too much stress to reduce their caffeine intake to about 200 milligrams a day.
Cool. Yeah, and one thing that also has to be kept in mind is that some people they might actually react very differently in terms of how good the quality of the coffee is. So like some people they might actually react to mold that might be in the coffee that you consume. So consuming some high quality coffee is always the best thing to do. And in some cases, people they might actually just experience a lot of anxiety and jittery if they just consume poor quality, and it might actually not be the coffee, but actually the quality that is to blame there.
Yeah.
Quality is definitely key in terms of coffee.
Yeah. Avoid dark roasts, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. And then timing of coffee is important as well.
Definitely.
So especially if you have insomnia, I would stop taking coffee in the afternoon. I always have my coffee in the morning, and that's it. If I think I need anything in the afternoon, I'll just deal with the sleepiness, because it keeps me up. If I take coffee in the afternoon, it keeps me up at night. So I only consume coffee in the morning on an empty stomach because I'm fasting in the morning. How about you?
Yeah, I do also consume coffee. In the morning, and like I actually base it on when I'm going to sleep. So a lot of studies on when most of your caffeine has been metabolized by your body is around 8 hours for most people. So based on that, I actually just kind of related to my sleep time. So I usually go to bed around 10 or 10:30, and based on that, I stop my caffeine consumption at latest 2 p.m. But oftentimes it's around 1 p.m. So it has a lot to do on how quickly your body actually metabolizes the caffeine, and there we also have the gene aspect, which is why some people they can't really tolerate it. Like just even consuming it 10 or 12 hours before sleeping, they might experience some troubles. Therefore I really focus on actually just reducing it, or just not consuming it within 8 hours of going to sleep.
That makes total sense. Another thing I'd like to add to this is that your cortisol levels rise when you're nearing the point where you wake up, because your cortisol will rise to basically help you in getting up and finding food for yourself. And then caffeine also spikes your cortisol. So it's important to kind of let the caffeine intake go with the flow of your own cortisol levels. So if your cortisol levels are high just when you're waking up, there is no need to take any caffeine because it's just going to spike your cortisol up even more. So I would also recommend people to wait a bit, say like 2 hours or so before having your coffee. And if you're fasting, that also helps much more in reducing your appetite than taking coffee straight away in the morning and then having a second cup later on to suppress your appetite.
Yeah, it is definitely important to actually focus on your cortisol spike. And the thing is also that it's very different for different people. So some people, they might just take some time to actually just get going and get up in the morning, even though they might have been sleeping well, and that is a lot to do based on the fact that their cortisol spike is smaller than other people. So if you're very tired in the morning, even though you might have gotten some really good sleep, you can actually consume the caffeine before other people that might just be ready to go and just get started with their day every single day. So also individual changes is really important here, that your cortisol spike might change a bit, and if you're fresh and ready to go, then just wait a bit before consuming caffeine. But if you're just not really having a lot of energy, even though you have gotten a great quality sleep throughout the night, then you can actually just take a little bit earlier as well.
Yeah. And also we wanted to discuss what we can add to our coffee to improve our experience. So you added L-theanine as a suggestion, and I completely agree, because coffee may make you feel a bit jittery, and theanine, which is a natural compound found in green teas mainly, can kind of offset the jittery feeling that you get from caffeine. And then caffeine also drains some important nutrients, mainly minerals like magnesium. And adding some magnesium, you don't have to add them at the exact same time that you're taking coffee, but it will be wise to just take some additional magnesium if you're consuming coffee on a regular basis.
Totally, yeah. And the thing is also that coffee can also dehydrate you. So if you only consume coffee and don't really consume any water or anything to actually hydrate you, then it's really important that you actually start doing that if you drink coffee, and especially if you drink a couple every single day. And the fact about that is also there we also have to focus on actually just it's also being able to deplete your mineral status overall. So actually more than magnesium can also be important. So also sodium and potassium and other minerals can also be important to actually get more of, especially if you don't really if you don't really consume a lot of them already. So actually maintaining a great balance of minerals is also important to keep in mind here.
Yeah, definitely. And besides minerals and theanine, you could add fats to your coffee. I think we both agree that you should be avoiding sugars also to make sure that you don't get too much of a glucose spike after consuming coffee. So what kind of fats, or I'll talk about fats and you can go into the details of healthy sweeteners and such. So sometimes I'll add fatty acids to my coffee, especially when I feel a bit hungry and I still have some hours of fasting left. So like this morning, I was actually, I had quite some appetite. So I just set my coffee with some MCT C8 oil to get some calories in and suppress that feeling of appetite. And it keeps me going. And MCT oil also has some beneficial effects on your brain as well. It's just a solid anti-inflammatory fat to add to your coffee. And you could also just add like cream or Yeah, I would. What other fats would you want to even add to your coffee? None, right?
Yeah,
Just
well, I
yeah,
guess it depends on your individual taste buds,
yeah,
but yeah, definitely consuming a bit of fat in your coffee is likely not going to be a problem because it's and the thing we also have to keep in mind is that of course it has to be related towards your goal of actually consuming coffee. So if you actually have gotten some breakfast or are going to consume some breakfast alongside the coffee, then you don't have to worry as much about consuming some fats in your coffee. But if you want to stay in a fasted state, that's where we have to just keep in mind that it's it can help to consume some fats, but that there might also be a threshold. So if you just pour oodles of tablespoons of some kinds of fats, then you might actually be able to get out of your fasted state. So it also
mhm,
depends on your goal, and
yeah,
also in terms of just your consumption of coffee in terms of just drinking it after 2 p.m. or after or within 8 hours of going to sleep. I also just want to mention that decaf can be an option here, and the thing is that decaf does actually contain a little bit of caffeine. So if you're really sensitive, then I would just not consume any coffee
yeah,
within 8 hours or maybe even more before going to sleep. But if you can handle some, then just consuming some decaf a few hours after 2 p.m. or within that 8 hour period might work. But still consuming a decaf cup of coffee 2 hours or 3 or 4 hours before bed might still mm, be a bad idea to do. So like personally, if I was going to consume some decaf, I'd probably do it like 6 or 5 hours before going to sleep. But just closer than that to your bedtime could still provide you with some problems in terms of your sleep.
yeah. And there's plenty of proof that even decaf coffee has some positive effects on the body because of the other micronutrients besides caffeine, like the polyphenols, and it contains some vitamins as well.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
mainly the polyphenols that are having such a strong antioxidant effect that decreases your odds of getting certain chronic diseases. I think
Yeah,
it's mainly the polyphenol content that is responsible for these effects.
certainly. Yeah. And the thing is also that like consuming it with caffeine might also be like healthier to do because actually consuming
Mhm.
caffeine can actually have some health promoting effects other than just giving your
Yeah,
energy overall.
yeah,
So actually doing a combination of decaf and normal coffee, if you just want to drink a lot of coffee, might be the best way to do it. But
yeah,
actually only consuming decaf might be less healthy than only consuming
yeah. I agree.
only consuming coffee with caffeine, of course, within a reason. If you consume coffee with caffeine within a few hours of your bedtime, then it will likely never be a good idea for your health.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So,
Okay.
so do you want to get into some healthy sweeteners, or should I talk about them?
Oh, you go for it.
Cool. Okay. Sure. Yeah. So there are some healthy sweeteners that have been proven not really to spike your blood glucose levels and increase your insulin levels at all. Or if they do, it is on such a small level that you shouldn't really worry about it unless you just consume like a ton of it, which
Mhm.
I don't believe most people would do. And these sweeteners they include things like eryth- uh, erythritol and stevia and trehalose and D-mannose. And the thing about these sweeteners is that our bodies they don't break them down like normal sugars, so they kind of just bypass digestion and then it won't spike your insulin and it won't spike your blood sugar. And the thing is also that like even the trehalose has actually been proven in some studies to actually increase autophagy. So actually consuming a little bit of trehalose while fasting might actually speed up your whole autophagy and health benefits of fasting. So it could even be a good idea to actually do that. And
Yeah.
I personally consume trehalose pretty much every day that I do fast in the morning.
I had no clue that this would enhance autophagy, and also coffee itself enhances autophagy. So that's why it's a great enhancement for your fast.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. Yes. So yeah. Just in terms of a last point, it's just that if you want to stay in a fasted state, then of course you have to focus on just not really stimulating mTOR if you want to consume coffee. And there we have the thing about consuming some healthy sweeteners or consuming some fat to actually just not promote insulin and an insulin spike and increase your blood sugar. But if you aren't in a fasted state, then you can consume more of those things as well as some carbs with it if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's not practically fasting anymore if you add fats to your coffee, but it's not going to negatively affect your fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is like so for some people that are just the purist in terms of you only consuming water or just tea or coffee. Just consuming some coffee just might seem crazy to them. But the thing is that if you don't spike mTOR, then you won't really just abolish these great benefits of doing some fasting.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So are there any notes that you want us to end on in terms of coffee, or do you think that we just covered most of it?
I think we've covered about pretty much everything. Also, if anyone has any questions about coffee that we didn't dive into, let us know and we'd be glad to reply.
Definitely. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time. And
you too.
See you soon.
See you soon.